When I hear our vote, our voice, our time, here's what that means to me. Our vote is personhood. It tells me I'm a citizen, a part of a fabric of a democracy, a society who chooses their elected leaders to carry out the will of the people, for the people, by the people. Our voice means power. It means that just by the stroke of a pen or the push of a button, the sending in of a ballot, I can move the agenda of a nation forward or backward by the choice that I make. Our time says purpose to me. That far more than just Democrat or Republican, progressive or conservative, that the season, the era, the epoch of time is so important, so vastly important, that the choice I make could literally change the sway, the flow, or the ebb of an entire generation.
It's time for a new course,
a new coalition,
a new leadership. Somebody
got to rise above race,
rise above sex.
A new leadership,
a choice,
a chance.
Don't cry about what you don't have.
Use what you got. Your right to vote.
Nuestro voto
es nuestra voz y es el tiempo de hacer cambios.
Our vote,
our voice,
our time.
Good afternoon. My name is Melanie Campbell, and I'm the President and CEO of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and convener of the Black Women's Roundtable. And it is my honor and pleasure to thank you for joining us for the launch of what for our Unity 2020 campaign is Protect Our Vote Week. All week, we are lifting up ways to make sure that we not only vote, but that we get that vote counted. And so to start us off, we felt nothing was more important and more powerful than to lift up what we're calling Returning Citizens Vote Day. And there is no one leader that represents the epitome of all of those things than our brother, my friend, Desmond Meade, who we will be lifting up him as well as the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition that's been doing awesome work for well over a decade to not just make sure that the folks in Florida, those 1.4 million who were given their right to register and vote in Florida in 2018, but also sending a message to all returning citizens and to all of us that we can win when it comes to this democracy, to making sure that all of us are a part of our democracy in the United States of America. So another great friend and leader of ours is tuned in, who's a partner and leads our affiliate in Florida, Solandra Benton, who's a convener of the Florida Coalition on Black Civic Participation and the Florida Black Women's Roundtable, will bring us greetings. We partner. She leads our affiliate, the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. They work really closely together. We wanted to make sure that we connected national, state leadership together with our brother. We're celebrating you, Desmond, and all of your team. So this is a celebration. You are, let me pull it out, our star of the and so that's a surprise. And so I'm going to turn it over to my sister Solandra to bring greetings on behalf of the Florida Coalition on Black Civic Participation in Anywhere, as well as a board member of the National Board of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. Turn it over to you, my sister Solandra.
Greetings, Melanie. I thank you for being a leader for us and always constantly leading by example. It's an honor and pleasure to be on this call with this leader in Florida who I know not only in the movement, but seeing him up close and personally when the cameras are not on, and doing the work for the people. And I bring greetings from the Florida Coalition on Black Civil Participation as we work constantly to work in coalition with our coalition partners like FRC, lifting up their work, and also making sure that we are good partners in this space with them for the return of citizens, for the rights restoration. And we're just happy to be with our national leader, Melanie, as well as Florida and all our Black Women Roundtable and our affiliates across the state of Florida to be a part of this day of lifting up FRC and Desmond Meade for his work that he's doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Solandra. And we're just going to have one more video to show.
This is Orlando, Florida. Here and everywhere across America, returning citizens struggle to safely and successfully re-enter into society. The Florida Rights Restoration Coalition is changing that. They are creating a world where formerly convicted persons have a chance to succeed. A man I deeply admire and respect, Desmond Meade, is leading the way.
My dream and hope for the future is that we live in a society in which love is the greatest force among us and that we embrace that. My name is Desmond Meade, and I am the Executive Director of Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. I first got involved in this line of work because I am a person who previously had felony convictions, and because of that, I lost my civil rights for life. But because of the work that we've been able to do, on November 6th, when Amendment 4-1, we got to show the world that love can win the day. We got up and we didn't give up. And because of that, over 1.4 million people in the state of Florida now have a voice. A major moment that happened that caused me to really dedicate myself to this was when I was contemplating suicide. I was standing in front of railroad tracks, waiting on the train to come so I could jump in front of it. At that time, I was homeless, I was addicted to drugs, and I was recently released from prison. I stood there waiting on that train, but it never came. I ended up checking myself into drug treatment. One thing led to another. I was able to eventually get accepted into law school. And in May of 2014, I graduated with a law degree. We can talk about, wanting a better place, but until we actually put in that work to better our society, then it won't be what we want it to be. I have an obligation to do something, and that there is some type of act that I can engage in that would help contribute in making my world, making my community, making this country a better place to live.
I'm falling to my knees, and though I do believe, I can't just preach, baby, preach.
Thank you, Desmond. And in the middle of, we know this, 8 days away from the last day of the election season, that you all hadn't had a chance to talk to you in a while, but I've just been watching and seeing what y'all are doing down there in Florida. The fact that we know that so much was done and continues to be thrown in the way. But you found a way, as John Lewis always taught us, you found a way to stay in good trouble, to keep pushing, because right is right and wrong is wrong. Justice is justice, right? And fairness is fairness. And all of us deserve, and that's my home state, so I'm a little biased, of course. And we know good things happen in Florida, even though sometimes it looks like it doesn't. So before I get into our dialogue, I'd like you, just anything you'd like to share with us before I get to asking you a few probing questions. Turn it over. Desmond.
Well, first of all, I'm here just grinning up some blushing because there's like so much like love right here, right? I'm just listening to you all and then looking at the videos. And let me tell you what the thought that came to me was how the first love and comfort that man ever felt was that of his mother, right? And as I was just thinking about the journey that I've been on, I can't help but to just be so deeply appreciative of you and Solandra and Tanya and the National Coalition, and especially the Black Women's Roundtable, because my sisters have been holding it down, right? And there were so many times when I wanted to falter, right? And I didn't think I could make it, that you all was on either side of me, just really propping me up, just women, my Black women, I mean, from my wife to my mother-in-law, there's so many of y'all praying and everything. And we're just, listen, I'm just taking the page out of y'all book, and continuing to press forward, knowing that how y'all been holding it down for so long. And I believe that we're bringing some reinforcements to y'all, right? And that's going to get us like over the mountaintop. And so I just cannot express my appreciation enough. It's just like this, right? Really, really, really so much love there. And let me tell you, at the end of the day, matter of fact, I voted a couple days Saturday, my first ever presidential election. And
we
just thinking about
feel the love from
yeah. Thinking about all of the sacrifices that was made. And I remember when I went to go vote the first time in the primaries, how it really dawned on me that I was actually walking on sacred ground when I was walking to the polling location. And when I was voting, I was committing a sacred act and understanding how sacred, because there was so much blood that was shed and so much sacrifices that was made just for me to have that particular opportunity right then and there. And I understood that how the sacredness of my vote transcended the partisan politics and transcended all of that, and took us to a place that just said something so simple yet powerful. It said that I am, right? It says that my voice matters. And what I realized was because of the sacredness of my vote, that, other people had to put respect on my vote, right? Yes, they just didn't get it for free, right? But then I also understood that there was an internal obligation for us to put respect on our own vote and not just give it away or just not let it sit dormant, right? That we have, the only way that we can honor, right, those sacrifices that was made is by actually showing up and encouraging other folks to show up. Because if we stay at home, if we don't participate, then we're basically saying that our ancestors died in vain. We're basically saying that we don't want our voice to matter, that we don't care if tomorrow somebody putting their knee on our doggone neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. We don't care if police is breaking in our homes and shooting our daughters in the bed multiple times, just murdering her, that we don't care about the pain and suffering that we've been going through all these years, because this is nothing new. And I think that this moment and this season, right, that we also not only have to demand that people who are seeking our vote put respect on it, but we also have to put respect on our own vote and honor. And so when I voted for my first presidential election Saturday, guess what? I voted in honor of the National Coalition. I voted in honor of the Black Women Roundtable, Solandra, you, Big Ma, Sheena, Tanya, and so many others. I voted in honor because I knew that you all had propped us up all these years. You all had stood in the gap, right? Even when men like me wasn't able to show up, or those who didn't bother to show up because they didn't think that their vote was important, that you all still toed the line and held it down for us. And I voted in honor of you all. So I just want to just thank you all, just show nothing but love and affection. I love you all. I'm hugging you all right now.
Yes, I'm
glad
feeling
you
that.
got the book. It's
I'm
in my
feeling
book. It's in my book.
Oh, I've got my copy.
Giving homage to my sisters, right? It's there. But I am like ready. I'm fired up, ready to go. I gotta say this part, like this weekend, what we did was in over 30 cities in the state of Florida. Solandra led some of those efforts. We had our Free to Vote rallies, and in over 13 states across the country and 27 cities across the country, we, in the terms of the street language, we clapped back on people that wanted to stop our voting. We clapped back on people that wanted to intimidate our voting. We clapped back on people that wanted to discourage us from voting and show that we don't scare easy, right? Not just like my sisters that told the line all these years, in spite of, we do not scare easy. And we're going to stand up and respond to all of those efforts by showing up in even greater numbers, having a stronger resolve that democracy would not be held hostage, it would not be denied, it would not be intimidated, that we're going to show up and we're going to keep showing up and keep showing up, right? Because we know that we're standing on truth, we're standing on some values that are shared, and we're standing on love, and love always wins the day. So we're going to keep on pressing forward.
I love it. I love it. You answered half my question, so I'm going to come back and ask them a different way. But listen, I've got my, okay, all right, understanding that what's going on. We know Florida is a tough place, and you kind of answered one of the questions I had, Desmond. I know that, like you said, you voted this past Saturday in South Florida for the first time for a presidential election, and you've already kind of started to go where I was like, what? There's so many brothers and sisters out there who are returning citizens. What would you say to them? Those who don't have their right. What would be the thing that you would encourage them to stay the course? Because Florida, like I know you've heard you say it many, many times, Florida is just the beginning. Yeah. Right? Yes. It's one of the worst as far as what was in the Constitution, right? And we know, and I'll come back to that in a minute about some of the barriers. But in this moment, what would you say to those who are discouraged?
Just, I would tell them to hold on, because hey, we coming to get them. Yeah. Right? We're coming to get a few months ago. I remember I was talking to my staff, Melanie, and and I told them that it was like a calmness and a sense of peace that came over me, because I had realized that I found something other than my family that I was willing to die for, right? And I found that I am willing to put my life on the line so that every American citizen have a voice, right? That they have the ability to vote if they choose. And so I can tell anyone that have not yet gotten their rights restored that this man here, right, is going to do all within his power to make sure that you get that opportunity. And boy, when you get it, you better use it. You better use it, right? Because people can't address our issues if they don't even know that we're here. And the only way they're going to know that we're here is when we show up at the polls and they know that they got to come talk. They got to have a conversation with us. Right now, what we're doing here in Florida, we have over 144,000 returning citizens that are on the roster right now. Right. And we know that at least 96% of them showing up. And I think back to 2000 when Florida was decided by less than 600 votes. And I know that and I know a governor's race that was just decided by only 40,000 votes. Right. And so if you want to be a president of the United States, if you want to be a governor of the state of Florida, it ain't no getting around this no more. Amendment 4 to clear the pathway. You got to come and have a conversation with us. And so for our brothers and sisters that don't have that right yet, just know that we got your back, right? We got your back, and we're going to make sure that your voice is heard. But you don't have to sit at home, that you got family members, you got friends who are registered voters. Let them be your voice for right now, because before 2018, we was like, your vote is my voice, right? And we were turning out people to vote on our behalf. But now that we got our voting rights back, guess what? Your vote and my vote, right? We gonna wreck shop. We gonna turn the tides, that we could shift the direction that this country is headed. And we're gonna, between your people vote and our vote, that we gonna get your vote back too.
And that's what's
Yep.
happening. And I've heard you say it, and I know that you are committed to it, and we're committed right there with you. And again, we wanted to just pause in the midst of all that's going on and make sure that we were able to lift you up and then tell a story to continue to motivate through this election cycle and beyond. And so the next question I have for you, I know, Desmond, that folks have threatened you, for doing the good work. We know that after Amendment 4 was passed, with what 65% of the vote, that Florida State legislator came back and did some what we call not good trouble, right? And caused problems for implementing Amendment 4 by requiring all of these other barriers, requiring folks to have to pay all these fines and fees, and what's a modern day poll tax in a real sense. That you all didn't let that stop you. So can you just briefly just tell us a little how did you all overcome some of those? And I know it's not over, it's a continuation, but what did you all do to continue to push forward the full implementation of Amendment 4?
Well, let's start by looking at National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. Who's going through all the hell all these years? What did y'all do? Right, yeah. Y'all showed up in even greater numbers, right? Yeah. Y'all registered even more people to vote and encourage more people to turn out. And I think that's how we respond, because let me be very clear, right? 9 times out of 10, if you see a bully, what you actually seeing is a coward, right? Mm-hmm. And you don't respond to bullies by running away and complaining about it. You respond by punching them right in their doggone mouth. Let them know that that's what they're going to get if they keep coming at you. And because they're cowards, they're going to eventually run away. All right. And the other thing that I know, because I know that we are people that our foundation and our roots is in our faith, that listen, this initiative was inspired by God. Understand this, that God got this. And if God is on your side, then you don't need to worry about nobody else. Because what happens is that God would take the very same obstacles that the enemy means for destruction and use it as stepping stones, right? And so when whatever they responded with, we were able to react to that in an even deeper engagement of our people. Give you a great example. When they came up with the poll taxes, okay, no problem. Guess what we did? We organized the entire country. Listen to what I'm saying. Because of their actions, we got people like LeBron James now. We was featured in the NBA finals, right? Yes. Where the whole world got to see, let my people vote. So their attempts to obstruct us just gives us an even greater platform, right, to engage even more people. So Michael Jordan, LeBron, Ariana Grande, we have John Legend, organizations like Levi's and Viacom and BET now all into the mix, raising over $27 million, paying off fines and fees of over 40,000 people. But did I mention that the last governor's election was decided by 40,000 votes? Right, well, so even just that right there, going to cover that gap right there. And those folks are going to remember who that person was that was fighting tooth and nail to stop them from voting, right? And even when we raised the money, because the government said, okay, pay off the fines and fees, we raised the money, pay off the fines and fees, and they still get mad at that. Right. But in addition to paying off fines and fees, because a lot of these people had their driver's license suspended, right, because of these outstanding fines and fees. Now, so many people are going to be able to get their license back and get better jobs and prepare for their families. And as we're infusing 27 million, matter of fact, let me tell you something. I'm going to show you how God worked, Melanie. Mm-hmm. They throw this fines and fees stuff at us, and we responded by being the organization in the state of Florida that has infused more revenue during COVID than the state itself, right? That right. We're going around from Pensacola to Jacksonville to Key West. We've distributed over 100,000 masks and sanitizers. And when we're paying these fines and fees in Brevard County, the clerk of court had a $500,000 deficit, right? and they were going to the county commission and said, we need some money. Where they gonna get it from? Taxpayers' dollars. We know, know what we did? We went to Brevard with a check and we gave them a check for $551,000, right? And what those checks that we did, let me tell you, the clerk of court was forced to lay off or reduce salaries, right, to over 57% of their workforce. Right, we came in and infused $27 million to save people jobs, to save taxpayers dollars, to contribute money to the victim compensation fund, while creating a more inclusive democracy. You can't get no better than that. Win-win-win-win situation. And that all came because somebody, what they meant for evil, God turned it for good, right? And so I'm tell them to bring it on, because the God who I serve is way stronger than them.
Well, you just took the words from it. What the devil meant for bad, God will make it into good. And so you mentioned Brevard County, my home county. Thank you so very much. Because I got family there. Thank you so very much. So you're now an author, I hear. So what did I do? I hadn't been out much. You know, I've been getting over COVID, right? But I had to go out for myself. So I have my book, and I bought everything on the shelf. Because I can't say I've read it cover to cover, because I just had a chance to buy it. But I tell you, it was just so powerful. That you put, because a lot of times when we are leading and organizing, we don't tell our stories, right? And so I appreciate you taking the time, and whoever, I'm sure Sheena and everybody else said, slow down, tell that story. Because it's a story that's not just to talk about you, but to talk about the people that work around you, and to be another roadmap that change can come, good can come. And so I thank you for that. And so one of the things that I did do, had a chance to read the first parts of the book, and you said it earlier on when you came on, you said, and the book is called, for those out there listening, go to Amazon.com, order it. You know, go in the bookstore, do whatever you do. Buy this book, because this, I believe, is something that folks will be reading about, talking about. Our children's children will be talking about. You know how we get something. I believe that's what's going to happen. I'm declaring, decreeing, and asking God to make this the New York Times bestseller. It's already there. We're claiming the victory, right, Solandra? But I know it's called "Let My People Vote: My Battle to Restore the Civil Rights of Returning Citizens" is the title. And you said it earlier, and you epitomized that. You said love has won the day. That's how you started off. Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that? Love has won.
Yeah. Well, you know, when we, first of all, you know, we were engaging in an issue, you know, letting people with felony convictions vote. That was controversial in itself. And we were doing it in one of the most controversial states, the state of Florida, which we know is about 3 states in one. And we were doing it at a controversial time that we're in, the time such as now. And so by all means and purposes, I mean, I'm thinking if my mother was alive, she probably would have told me I was crazy too, you know, because there's no way that you're going to mix this oil and water and be successful. All of the experts said it wasn't going to get on the ballot, much less even pass, but we did that. And the beautiful part about it was, as controversial as it was, right, that we were able to get over 5.1 million people who voted yes on Amendment 4. And that was 1 million more people that voted for the governor, of Florida. And the interesting thing, and I know that, yeah, it's great that it was the largest expansion of civil rights in God knows how many years. And I love that and I appreciate that. But what I was most proud of was that we were able to bring people together from all walks of life and all political persuasions, right? And when I looked at those votes, none of those votes was based on hate or fear, right? But rather they were votes that was based on love, forgiveness, and redemption. And we showed the world, right? We showed the entire world that love can, in fact, win the day, that we don't have to tear each other down to get ahead. We don't have to scare folks. And, you know, we don't have to get into these divisive tactics in order for us to feel good or for us to accomplish major things, that we can actually do it through love, you know, and we know that it may be hard, but man, we can love our enemies. we could hate the disease, but that don't mean that we have to hate the individual, right? And that we could bring people together and we can move major political issues. You know, Martin Luther King, I know I'm messing this quote up, but he's saying hate can't drive out hate, and fear can't drive out fear, and darkness can't drive out darkness. But love can defeat all of that. And I am a firm believer, and we all know that God is love. And I am a firm believer that there is a way that this country can, a direction that this country can go in which we're solving our issues, right, with the driving force of love rather than the driving force of hate and division. We've seen what hate and division can do and how destructive it is. We're living in the midst of it right now. And this is deep down inside, this is not what anybody wants, right? And I do believe that if we keep love at the center of what we do, we can accomplish so much more, and we can start healing our communities and this country.
And so one last question, because I know, 8 days and counting, right? So I know it's a busy time for you and Solange and so many of us out here trying to make sure we have a record turnout, but then also that vote gets counted. So the last question I have for you, Desmond, you mentioned it, our country's been going through a really rough time. A really rough time between the Black Lives Matter movement, between what's been going on with COVID-19 still ravaging, with so much hate and division in this country. And so our young people, our Black You Vote young people say justice is on the ballot, right? And so with that being the case, first, do you believe justice is on the ballot? And if so, how do we keep this movement for justice going beyond November 3rd, right? When the real work begins to really bring about racial eradication of racial divisions in this country, systemic racism in this country, to bring about the kind of change our young people are not just hoping for, but demanding to take place. They're connecting the power of the ballot to protest and politics. And if our Generation Z, they call them, and millennials really took that fully, they could shift so much in this country. And I think we're seeing that. And you're seeing all these numbers coming up, and they say, oh, all these young people. Look, young people showed up in 2018, and people didn't really give them full credit. And they shifted power for something that looked more like inclusion and opportunity for more than a few. So that last question, do you believe justice is on the ballot? And if so, how do we keep the movement for justice going after November 3rd?
Wow, I emphatically believe that, Melanie. I'm telling you, one of the bright spots was seeing the tenacity of our young folks out there, even in the streets, protesting and making their voices heard. But yeah, I do believe that justice is on the ballot, and it's so simple. We go back to Ahmaud Arbery, when he was murdered, it took that prosecutor over about 70 days to actually finally bring charges. And it was only through pressure that charges were brought. Those prosecutors are elected, right? When we see George Floyd or Breonna Taylor that was murdered by police officers, and the George Floyd was the one that really got me, because this man had his hands in his pocket and was like looking around like it was okay. It was okay for him to take the life of a Black man for nothing. And those individuals work in the department that's led by a sheriff or police chief. Those sheriffs are elected officials. The judges that preside over cases, they are elected officials. And so I would tell folks that if you want justice in the streets, you've got to show up at the polls, right? So I do believe that justice is in the ballot, and how we show up, right, on elections, how we show up at the polls, right, would demand that justice show up in our communities, because we actually can make the difference. And we did that. Let me give a great example. Right here where I'm at in Orange County, we had a young woman that was running for state attorney, and her opponent was an African-American male, right, who was a former judge, right? But this judge, he switched parties right before the election so he could run as a Democrat. And this black man didn't believe in the school to prison pipeline. This black man, when he was a judge, was sentencing black people more harshly than the white counterparts. This black man wanted to go back to the old ways of prosecuting. And this black man had all the endorsements from the bourgeois African-American community, all the way down, and I can say it, even Congresswoman Val Demings endorsed this man, right? But let me tell you what the streets did. The streets took this woman that was 38 points down, and in a matter of 2 weeks, right, turned it around, and on election night, she won by 14 points, right? 14 points. And that was young people that had enough, that said enough was enough, that did believe that justice was on the ballot, and they showed up and propelled the reform-minded prosecutor, right? Put her right into, actually set her up for this election, for the general election, right? And it's we believe that she's going to win this election. But to be able to see young folks and returning citizens turn out their community from the streets to the polls, Miss Melanie, right? From the streets to the polls, and we did that. And so I know that we can do it. And yeah, justice is on the ballot. And how we keep it going is that I remember when somebody, one of the reporters asked me, oh, you guys are putting a lot of resources into this candidate, right? And I looked at that report and said, oh, the resources ain't for that candidate. The resources are for my community, right? Well, we've got to understand that when we go to the polls, more than anything, we're going for the ones that we love. We're going for our community. We're going for ourselves, right? Because guess what? No matter who the candidate is, ain't nobody perfect. And nobody's going to do all the right things. But what we can do, if we go for ourselves, it positions us to hold those people accountable. Right. In the past, we elect people and expect people to come and save us. No, it ain't their job to save us, right? It's our job to save us. I always tell a story about
election day.
Yeah, I always tell the story about how
on election day. Quite frankly,
who you telling? I'm telling you.
It starts on election day.
That's right. That's exactly when it starts. I always tell that. I got to tell this story. I got to honor my wife, but that's how you think I got seen.
That's
right. How would I get the most amazing wife in the world? Because when I was in elementary and I had a crush on this young lady, and I sent my best friend to go find out if she liked me, right? He ain't never came back. He never came back. And so I learned in elementary that you cannot rely on anyone. You can't rely on any entity to get the things that you need. You've got to go out and you've got to demand it. You've got to get it yourself. And so when we elect, whoever we elect, do not rely on them to get us what we need. We have to go out and get it. We have to demand that they hold true to whatever promises they made and even push them even further. We've got to do that work, and we do it starting election night on forward.
Well, thank you so much. And one word that you said is we, the power of we. And I always listen, to folks and say, that's the power, what we can do together. And you built that coalition. I thank you so very much for what you're doing. We're there with you. I wish we could go on longer, but I promise it would be a short conversation, but it's been well worth the moment and a great way to start off our week, talking about protecting our vote and lifting up returning citizens and lifting you and the Voting Rights Restoration Coalition. I'm going to ask, so thank you. And I'm going to ask Sister Solandra if she had any closing remarks. And I heard, as we were prepared, we wanted to be prepared for this. We didn't want to just come. That's why you see the videos. We wanted to just really, we know you weren't expecting some of that, but that was the whole purpose. Also, not just have a conversation, but celebrate, because we're working all the time, and working all the time is especially when you're talking about working the issues around justice and opportunity is not an easy task. We wanted to take some time. And so I found out about this new anthem that the National Voting Anthem Citizens with Desmond and Blackman Music National folks, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna close out with that video.
Oh, before you do that, you see this right here? You know what this is? That's me exercising my hands because I know I got a whole lot of books to autograph.
Yes, indeed.
So I'm getting it right.
Indeed. Don't forget, folks.
Yeah.
Buy this book. And then Desmond, before I turn it over to Solange, and then Solange, if you could tell folks how to get involved down there in Florida with Florida Coalition. Desmond, so if folks want to get involved and support you and FRRC, tell them how to do that.
Oh, that's easy. They can come to visit us on our website at FloridaRRC.com. That's FloridaRRC.com. Or they can call our 1-877 number, 1-877-MY-VOTE-0. That's the same number that they can use too. If anybody is working the polls and they're seeing any returning citizens having any issues at the polls, that's also a number to call. So for our election protection. So 1-877-MY-VOTE-0 and FloridaRRC.com.
Thank you, Solange.
Yes. So if anybody want to get involved in the Florida Coalition on Black Civil Participation, we have a space for you. If you're a woman with our Black Women's Roundtable, you have a space. If you're a youth, you got some children. We got to start our children young. We can't wait for them. They got to come and go as a family. As we say, you know, get your house in order. The whole house is affected. If one person go to jail in your family, the whole family goes to jail. If one person go to college, the whole family goes to college. So we invite everyone to come and get involved, be civically engaged from the baby to the grandma. And you can contact us at NCBCP.org, our website, and go contact us and put your information in and let us know that you want to get involved. Again, that's FCBCP.org. Come on, we waiting for you at the table. Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you so very much.
And thank you, Melanie.
And thank our team at the National Coalition for all that you're doing behind the scenes and in front of the scenes to make this week possible. Desmond mentioned Tanya Tyson and Keisha Newsom and Holly Holiday, and Lon Walls, and Angelo Greco, and if I miss anybody, just forgive me because I don't have my notes in front of me. But our team here at the National Coalition for helping to lift this work. We couldn't do it without you. So Desmond, we're going to close out with an anthem. And for everyone who's out there watching, if you haven't voted yet, make sure you have a vote plan. And we have a hashtag, Are You Vote Ready? And ask yourself, look yourself in the mirror. Are you vote ready? And then look at all your family members and your cousins and your friends. Check them, tell them, are you vote ready? If you have not voted, have a plan. What's that plan look like? If you don't want to stand in the long line on election day, because there's going to be lines in many places, make sure that you have a plan, know where to go vote. You can go to unitycampaign.org to check that out. Make sure that if you go stand in line, they have to stand in line, just assume that you have to stand in line. Then take that water with you. Make sure you got that mask. You know, I would give you mine if I could. Let my people vote. What? Make sure you have a mask. Make sure that you bring a folding chair, right? Do whatever it is, but whatever you do, stay in that line. And Desmond gave a number, but there's also a election protection, 1-866 our vote number you can call to make sure you know how to protect your vote. Because I know it's a historic turnout, but we want to make sure after all of that work and you standing in those long lines, that we also give you the information to know how to protect that vote. This is our Protect Our Vote week, all week long at the National Coalition with all of our partners across the country. Thank you so very much. And we'll close out with the National Returning Citizens theme. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for following us at the National Coalition. And just let's get this done, you all. Let's make history together.
Our people faced, right, when their lives were actually threatened by the state-sanctioned violence. You know, being hung and being murdered and burned and bitten by dogs and sprayed with fire hoses. That our people went through that. We had people die on the battlefield, so we can vote.
Black man music, the L stands for long nights and hard fights. On the block with 2 Glocks and I'm known strike. And the I means isolated and introduced to the crime life. Serving these fiends, making some loot. And the F means I'm falling and I'm losing my mind, but I'm a loner. shit that you feel when you fight to get strong, I feel it too. And my brothers, we got to hold on, and all my sisters, I'm sorry for the pain we caused, but you know the flesh is weak, so we got major flaws.
From the streets to the jail to the prison, to the hood, 1.4 million of us. We got the keys to the kingdom. I'm talking about freedom.
In the L for the leaders that be teaching our people. Won't you stop that line, cause the game ain't equal. In the I, piece ice cream, sweet but it melts. Just like your mother on that crack, but she really won't help. In the F for the father who ain't never been there, cause he been in and out the joint, but he really do care. Got caught up in the system that was built for us. Treated like an animal, so it's mine. With rotten rust, too many years gone, you out, but you sad cause you broke. And your kids full grown, so you sell some dope. 1 year you stayed out, and you back in the fix. You get a visit from your daughter, and she say you ain't fit. So you cry under the pillow, and your body's real cold, cause you know you're facing life without parole. Looking at the man in the mirror, you a heartless G. Only us can save us, yeah, I'm talking to we.
They done run so long, they don't hear it.
You don't just get my vote for free.
Oh, we got the power, so now they gotta feel it.
You have to earn my vote.
And we ain't stopping, God is my witness.
Too many people have died for me to have the right to vote.
This is hard for me to have this privilege.
Bringing the spirit of my ancestors.
One voice, one mind, let's go. Let's vote.
From the streets to the jail to the prison, to the hood, 1.4 million of us. We got the keys to the kingdom. I'm talking about freedom. From the streets to the jail to the prison, to the hood, 1.4 million of us. We got the keys to the kingdom. I'm talking about freedom.
You don't just get my vote for free. You don't get my vote because I'm black.
One voice, one mind, let's go. Let's vote.